All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Passive House California virtual community meeting. Jay, do you want to welcome everyone?
Well, welcome everyone. This is the It Takes a Village lessons learned from Passive House Training and Community Engagement, and you can see Enrico is the presenter as we go on through. This will work. It there we go. This is we're Passive House California when we are part of the Passive House network across the country, and we're also a part of IFA and the Passive House Institute. So. We're happy, happy to be a part of this, and it's an important, and the momentum is gathering. It's up 4 times in the last 4 years. I just was looked through the other day the total how many million square feet we had in 2018, 2020, and now to 2024, and it's 4 times. It was already a steep ramp, and it's going up faster. Something that I would share with you that. The passive house is about the air sealing, and what Enrico is going to talk to today is about tradespeople, people who are working and doing that work as not just knowing it and designing. And so it's about the envelope, and it's about air sealing, and you do the details there, you spec it and go through those things. But the thing that you need to do in order to have it work as you build the first building and the second and the third and the fifth is to get training for the contractors and subs, for everybody that's going to be doing it. And first, they need the knowledge. They have to be shown what to do and why it's important. And then they have to practice and do it so they can do it correctly, so they have the skills. And then they have to believe in it and be committed to do it right every time. And then you're going to wind up with the quality manager in construction, and it's going to be all it is. And over here on the right is something that just shows it's not that different from regular construction, except for the details, the corners, the thermal bridge places, the air tightness, the things. It's all details. It's not completely magic, and that's why it doesn't need to be much if any more expensive as you do it. So thank you to Emu and who is the speaker today. And this is an example of one of the things doing is in practicing, doing it, learning to put things together as you go on there. So thank you for having them. Thank you to our silver sponsors of Small Planet Supply, Minutair, and Earthbound Homes, and to our supporting sponsors that we have across here. We've got 475 Building Products, Rockwool, you're familiar with, Fergus Garber and Associates, and I'll have to move that there. Ream, Stiebel Eltron, Intelligent Membranes, Prosoco, Pete Moffett Construction, the Heinrich team. He's a local realtor that's giving us a lot of help. Good Space Builders, CPHBA, Cyril's company, and Hayward Lumber. So those are all of the sponsors that we have. We've got a couple of new ones coming on board shortly, I hope. And so I will just say thank you to our sponsors, and I will stop sharing now.
I think now it is time to turn it over to our featured speaker today. Enrico, take it away.
And thank you, PHN and Pacific House California, for having me today. Today's presentation is different from what I typically give. I typically give a lot of presentations on data, science, physics, and today instead I am presenting about something more in the soft skills kind of aspect of pushing for passive house adoption across the country. And that is what we have learned from teaching builders and others over the past 8 years across the country. So I'm gonna show some thought that I had about these lessons learned, and I welcome your questions, which we're gonna take at the end. But please pop them in the chat as we go through, because in my experience, if you have a questions, it's better to pop it in the chat right then and there, and then we can go over them in order, in whichever order it comes by at the end. So please do pop the questions. I love to answer them, even if I don't have the question, it becomes a matter of discussion. And that is something that I've learned from teaching people over the past 8 years. So all questions are welcome. So please do pop them in the chat. I'm gonna start sharing my screen and start talking about our experience that is really it takes a village to bring passive house to grow locally. And we've learned this by engaging with different pockets, different communities across the US, from all the way from Maine to California, from Wyoming to Texas, across the country, really. We are former architects. I'm still registered back home, so that is my upbringing, my professional upbringing in a way. And that is also something that led us to start teaching builders when we moved to the US around 2016. Right now, we are the main providers across the country for hands-on passive house training. Um, and we also do a little bit of consulting, but that is more towards supporting builders that take the training. And it's a way for us to keep our curriculum current with new products, new challenges that come by. But really, we see ourselves as in-person, hands-on training providers. We already talked about introductions. I'm going to skip this a little bit and jumping into why require training. If you see the skyline here is Brooklyn. This is a training that we did this year. But on the right-hand side, with the last fewer gray hair, it was me teaching an Italian tradesperson on how to air seal around a roof vent. So that is a picture that is at least 10 years old, probably 12 or so. We got there because we had to. So we had to because we were designing passive house buildings back in 2010. This is when we got into passive house, and we were specifying details. We were specifying high performance products, but we didn't have anyone on site to be able to install them. So really, to get the quality that was paid for, in the first place, we started to spend a lot of time on site. I spent a couple of hours every single day for years on site. So just to get that message across. And then in doing that, you get people, tradespeople and builders to buy into the goals that you're trying to get to. People do get it once you start explaining to them, and you start speaking the same language. So really, at that time, we just started being on site a lot. And then we decided to move the company to Colorado, where we are based out of right now, in 2016. And once we moved to Colorado, we stopped offering architectural services, and we just focused on training. That is how we got into training, out of needs, out of necessity, to get the quality that we were specifying for. Now, the main training that we provide, and it is mostly in person, as you can see the picture. We also offer it online, but it is for the audience that we have. People are kind of over Zoom training. Social events like this one today are welcome, but a lot of people don't want to sit for 12 hours or 16 hours in front of a computer to learn something. So while we do offer the training online, most of our training is back to in person. And really, we offer the tradesperson training, although we have developed our own curriculum that is centered around the integration between design and construction. So we call it passive design build integrated training. And it's really geared towards bringing together people from the design side and people from the construction side. In fact, half of people coming to take the training are builders. About a third are architects. This is a different track than the designer or consultant. We do not teach PHPP. We do not teach software. We teach how to integrate design and construction. Then we have about 10% of developers, homeowners, and a mixture of the rest, but the actual tradespeople is less than 1%. So that is something that the name of the course comes from PHI, comes from the international definition, although we have less than 1% of people coming to take the training to actually be tradespeople. It's more the builder training, and then a fair amount of people from the design side. They don't necessarily want to go through the whole modeling and software training, they more want to interface with builders and get that integration. So this is kind of the mixture of the people that come in, and different people come in with different needs, and they do need to have the message brought to them in different ways. So the whys that motivate builders include they want to learn how, and we really try to focus on the why. Because if you understand the why, you will be able to take the skill set and apply it to different problems. But from the builder side, there's really a big focus on how. How do I get this done? It's a way to develop their own craftsmanship. It's a way to control costs. Something that is common in construction is if a builder doesn't know what the air ceiling is, they will bid a higher cost for that just to protect themselves from something that they don't know. And in fact, part of the reason of us offering a hands-on workshop is having them to try different products so that they get a feeling of how long it takes, so that they can understand the pricing better. Keep in mind that the tradesperson training, the way PHI has conceived it, it has zero hands-on requirements. So the workshop pictures that you see in the slides are kind of the gravy, but it is something that is complementary to the course, but it is not part of the course, But we were very strong. We felt very strongly about including a hands-on part, so that physical learners, such as builders, can understand the how much better. And then lastly, a big reason for the builders to understand and to be bought in is reduce their own liability. So being able to back up their work and with less risk of projects failing certification or failing the blower door test or failing the requirements that are specified by the architects. Now, builders are about half of people that come to the training. Architects are a good third. So I also included some whys from architects because they're different. And we try to integrate the message in a way that it can be understood and valued by different people. We just talked about the builders. Architects have different reasons. Learning the why is more important because architects are more trained to take different constraints and apply them to the design, whether it is a new construction or a retrofit, or if it is a commercial building or a residential building. In fact, in this little picture that you see on the right-hand side, you see that our training pods are now designed to have on one side stick frame construction, mimicking more residential construction type of techniques, as opposed to the left-hand side in this picture is the commercial side. So in this case, it's kind of masonry or CMU construction. Anyway, architects are more on the why as opposed to the builders being on the how, which kind of drives the conversation. We always try to mix different teams together to have some people from the construction side and some other from the design side. That is something that we'll learn to do over time. Architects come to improve their design skills, but also they see passive house as a better product to offer to their clients. And so they also come to learn how to educate their own clients. They want to come and learn how to sell or describe the value of passive house from us, from the training, so that they can take it to their clients and educate the clients on why it is important to build better. So that is very different reasons why architects come to the training as opposed to builders. Then why take the training? In general, a lot of people come because they're working on a specific project. Joe just got hired to build a passive house, so Joe comes and take the training. That is maybe 1/3 or maybe 1 every 4 people in the training come because either the client is paying for their training or because they're working on some specific project, and that is why they want to come and learn. But also, People come to improve their own skills and get ahead of the game and get sometimes even a career change. We get people that get into construction out of we have a high number of dentists, which is funny. But we have a high number of dentists that leave the dentistry job and get into construction, want to be builders. So that is something that we see. Like I can recall at least 3 dentists that got into our training to then become builders. But people that want to get into the construction industry, they see this training passive house as a way to learn how to do well, not just to do the code minimum. So that is something that is very interesting. And it's a way to offer a better product to their clients. In doing that, they want to get better projects than just a project where they would just compete on cost. So being certified passive house people, it's a way to appeal to clients that want to have a better product and recognize passive house as a standard to be better than code minimum build. This is true everywhere. It's not really climate specific. Energy savings can be more climate specific, but passive house is seen as a better product anywhere pretty much, at least in our experience. And in doing that, we see a lot of younger companies that use the training and passive house as a way to setting themselves apart from competition. We had a couple of builders that we work with in the Carolinas, and North Carolina and South Carolina are not in the forefront of passive house or the passive house movement. If you think of the passive house movement, you think of California, you think of New York, New England, but those are younger companies and they compete with um, 3rd or 4th generation companies building high-end homes in North Carolina and South Carolina, and they compete with somebody that has been doing the good old same old type of construction for generations, literally. So they see passive house as a way to learn what is the best right now and be ahead of the game uh, compared to their established competition. So that is also interesting that we've learned. Team building is something that is uh, also coming from larger companies. Larger companies send new hires to the training because learning something new together is a way to bond employees and get them to connect. And that is something that we have played into the workshop. We're going to see something about that later. But having activities also that are not just learning and doing an exam, we try to develop the curriculum in a way that is intentionally fun, not just because it's fun to have fun, but if people have fun, they will pay more attention and they will learn more. So fun is a structural part of the learning experience. That is something we have come to in trying to get people to stay awake over a week of learning about building science, which is not be taken for granted. Connect, socialize, get opportunities. That is a very big driver of why people, at least in our experience, want to be in person. As I mentioned earlier, we do offer the course part, so the theoretical part about building science and passive house. We do offer that online too, but really, people see these kind of events as a way to connect to other people. So being in person is a lot more popular than being online. And get opportunities here means that some people want to get into construction, or some people want to get a career change. So they see this training as a way to gain a badge to set themselves apart from other um, new hires, but also it's a way to meet new people at the course, as well as the social events that are organized around the training event. So there's a lot of connection. We strongly encourage that. Like I personally am still a very good friend of someone that took the training with me back in 2010 in Italy. And so that you learn as much from other people at least in my experience, you learn as much from other people taking the training as from taking the training itself. So we do recommend connecting with, we're going to see how we have moments during the training where we encourage connecting and talking to other people, because in our experience, connecting to other people is as enriching as the training itself. And then lastly, there are people that come to the training for the climate action as well as to be passive house certified, but that is, certification itself is kind of a drop in the bucket of the reasons why people want to take the training. Now, the ultimate goal is to get people to care. This is all it matters. Like, people to understand why this is important and why it's important to care. So this is the one message that we try to push on people, is why buildings are important, why passive house is a way to get buildings to be much better than what they are today. And at the end of the day, the biggest thing that we're trying to pass on to people taking the training is try to get them to care. If they do care, they will remember, they will implement what they learn into their projects, whether the projects are certified or not. If people come and they don't care, then they're kind of wasting their own time, you know? So this is kind of the engagement we're trying to build with the activities that we have in the training. Now, this is where we start to see a little bit of the training. We learn there's a course that is the theory part, where we talk about what passive house is, the physics, condensation, R values, insulation, blah, blah, blah. There's a workshop that is where we apply that to the pods, to the mock-ups that we have, where we apply insulation, we install a triple glazed window, we have the air sealing, then we test them to see what was executed well for air sealing, for thermal bridging. But it's also fun to use an infrared camera and compete against different teams doing that. And then there's an exam at the end. Now, we tried to connect, we talked about the different audiences that we have, different people, different backgrounds. We're gonna see how we play a little bit of team building. We literally started including lunches in the package to have a moment where people don't need to worry to go out and find their own lunch. That you can sit, you can talk to your neighbor, you can talk to other people in the course, and that becomes really critical because we're trying to build a village. We're trying to build an ecosystem of people working together with one another. So lunches, Emu could decide, hey, see you back at 1, go get your lunch. But we are trying to build and allow people to connect to one another. So we have food delivered, and so that people can just sit and relax and just chat to other people taking the training, because that is as important as the curriculum itself. And then there's a social event on the afternoon of the last day, so the Friday afternoon, where we try to have as many people from the course to attend, as well as many locals that already know what passive house is to attend, so that they can meet each other and they can connect locally. So we made that social event a recurring part of our boot camp weeks, because we try to connect people that have taken the training to people that are locally are already working in passive house, or maybe looking for someone to build their homes or their passive house projects, or they may be looking at a career change and get into passive house next. So we're trying to use the week of training to also spur some in-person activity and build that ecosystem. Then we want it to be fun, so we are playing on the good old competitive spirit, and we have some games we're going to see in a second. And then we're going to talk about how this is a safe space where we are brand neutral. We do not take sponsorship from product manufacturers, which is the exception really compared to the rule of, I think 90% of builder training in the US is sponsored by product manufacturers. So it's a way to kind of have people test different products without a sales pitch associated with that. But we're going to talk more about that. So on the left-hand side, we have the course, which is the first 2 days where we learn about the theory, you learn about the building science, what passive house is. And that is also offered online, but we see that most people want to come in and take it in person. And then on the right-hand side, you see a passive, a passive pod coming together. You see the pretend CMU, the gray boxes on the left-hand side, and which is there to represent construction, commercial construction techniques, as opposed to the far side on the right-hand side is the stick frame construction that is meant to be more like residential side. There are reasons for those two that I'm happy to answer about later in the Q&A, but that is not really about the engagement. But the workshop follows the course, and it is typically the Wednesday and Thursday. So after 2 days of sitting, you get to stand up, move around, and play with high performance products. We developed our own curriculum based on all climate zones going from Florida to Alaska. So we took the learning objectives from PHI, but we developed the curriculum to address American construction techniques as well as climate challenges. The workshop, we use a Confucius style where we provide instructions, then we let the cats roam free, and then we try to herd them and direct them, cats being the participants. And then we review them together. There is a lot of fun in doing that, but there are some challenges in herding adults that want to play with tape. But anyway, then we do testing of the pod once they're assembled. We do a smoke test, we do infrared, and then have a resiliency test. Happy to answer those later, but these are ways to engage, to provide proof of concept on things that people build with their own hands. And that is a much more profound engagement type than just looking at the PowerPoint. So in looking at what your insulation details failed, and you can see the extra heat coming through the infrared camera, that is something that is very telling, and it's very engaging for people. People get very excited about looking at each other pods and finding air leaks or thermal bridging. And then there's the exam that is on the last day. It is an online exam. I can answer more questions about that later, but it is a more standard part of the course. For fun, we have some competition, we have games, we have scoring. So in the first place, this is one of the tests that I mentioned. We heat up the pods and we inspect them with an infrared camera. You can see where the metal fasteners are. You can see the heat losses through the gaps in the insulation. That is something that people cannot unsee. So it's very telling. And then the game in the main picture that you see, where you see the little squares of the insulation with the yellow letters, one of the games that we play is where you have to identify the type of insulation that is in front of you and rank them from highest to lowest R per inch. That is, if you win that, if your team wins that, then you get to install a better product for the next step of the game. So it's a way to kind of go back to what people have learned in the 2 days of course during the workshop, have them play together as a team and compete against the other teams to win better performing products to use in the workshop. Excuse me. This is kind of the scoring that we provide at the end, where we have the different games. We have some due diligence. Each supervisor is required to submit a report at the end of each round of the workshop. So it's a way to teach builders to send information to the certifier, something that they will need to do in an actual passive house project. So it's a way to build that muscle memory to document the best practices for air sealing, install of a window, insulating, so forth, and then submit it to the certifier to verify. It is strictly a brand neutral environment. We do not take sponsorship from any manufacturers. What you're looking at here is products from different manufacturers that we receive as donations, and participants are free to use them throughout the workshop. Starting at the bottom, you see different types of tapes from different manufacturers. On the right-hand side, you have different WLBs and air barrier membranes. And then at the top, you see different windows. And windows, we have a game where participants, different teams are required to rank highest to lowest window profile, just looking at the section, like a corner sample. And the teams that win get to choose what windows to install in their pod. So it's kind of like a way to use the knowledge to get to install the better performing window in their pods and so forth. And participants are really encouraged to try all of the samples, and people do form an opinion after having gone through. But any manufacturer can give you a spiel on how to better air seal a corner. This is not what the workshop is about. The workshop is about learning how the theory that you learn in the course applies to a real life 3D building and how to test it afterwards with the smoke test, with the infrared. So it's kind of seeing the full cycle, including the full testing. It's a very good place to connect. This is one of the events we had. It was kind of a lame moment. When we have fun moments, we don't take pictures. This is one of the evenings in one of the workshops in Fort Collins, Colorado, where we had a big table and everybody was talking to everyone. We had people from Texas, from Maine, from New York at the same table, and it was a good place to meet one another. It's also a way for people to get new jobs or new opportunities. We see that all the time, So this definitely an added value to people coming to take the training beyond being certified as a passive house tradesperson. Now, something that we did before COVID, I'm going to talk about that later, sorry. So the audience, as I said, is a mixture between design and construction pros as well as others. We try to build on the communication skills during the training, teamwork and competition. And we have the lunches as a way to connect participants to one another. So those are intentional off times that you're in class, taking it easy, so you get a chance to talk to other people. And then the social event is actually open to anyone that can come and socialize and talk about passive house. So that is something that we have people, we have alumni that took the course years past. We have developers and homeowners that come and look for builders to build the passive buildings, as well as we have people from the community that want just to engage. Now, something that we did before COVID, and it was a different type of community engagement because we lent the pods to local schools. For local schools to run their science projects on. This is an example that we had at the Waldorf School in Boulder, Colorado, where we gave them the pods for about a week, and they got to test them. They looked at passive solar gains. They play with phase change materials. They play with different orientations. They were rotating the pods 90 degrees to the east and then 180 to the south. That is something that we have not done since COVID. It's something I would love to bring back. And maybe there's a way to find grants to support that. But it is the pod and our idea of having a workshop on wheels is to make it more accessible to local communities as opposed to everybody flying into the same place. But also it's a way to engage the local community and have this trickle into the local education with these kind of programs. Again, this is something that we did before COVID, and then we had to pause, and we have not picked it up again, but it may come back in the future. We have the kind of support. Now, if you want to learn more, this is the two courses that we have coming up in California. We have one in September 30th to October 4th in San Luis Obispo. That is paid for by 3C rent for the residents of the counties of Santa Barbara, Ventura, and San Luis Obispo. And then for Berkeley, we're going to be in Berkeley October 21st to the 25th. And we have, thank you, Passive House, California, we have scholarships available for people that want to come in and take the training. So if you're interested in this training, please let me know. Drop it in the chat or ask questions right now. But that is all for now. Thank you for your attention, and I look forward to your questions.
This is the Climate Action California, and I'll scroll down. What they're trying to do, the proposal is to implement Passive House and Title 24 as an alternative compliance pathway, which will save a lot of money of people, because now if you do a Passive House, you still have to do all the Title 24 things as well. And you can find them here at climateactionca.org. And I wanted to bring that up because the intent is to get the legislation or the legislature in the, like they did with the church thing, the SB4, get them to override it, because it's difficult to get it through the CPUC or CEC, because there's a lot of fossil fuel energy money trying to keep it away from it.
Thank you all. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you all for coming, and thank you, Enrico. And we will see you next month.
Thanks, Kim.